All glory to the Most High. Thank all my day ones, my day twos, my day threes for rocking with the channel. And I got to go live a lot more for complications to the channel. Let's get into it. So when you look at New Orleans, you look at the Mississippi River. People from New Orleans City, include myself, that's my hometown. That's where the 504 come from on my name, channel name. My entire family is in New Orleans. And when you look at New Orleans as a whole, you just think about the culture, the tradition, how people love and care for one another. You think about all those things when it comes to New Orleans. And New Orleans is one of those cities where we cultural base, crawfish. We grew up neighborhood to neighborhood. Kids play outside. Kids are people watch one another kids. It's a cultural based city, literally. If you ask anybody from New Orleans, there's no place like New Orleans. I know people say that about the hometowns, but literally there's no place like New Orleans, and that's worldwide. New Orleans is Creole. It's a mixture of different people. And the food. The food is outstanding. Well, right now, New Orleans residents are going through some changes right now. Apparently the Mississippi River is drying up, so the Gulf of Mexico water is actually intrusion with the Mississippi River. The folks of Southern Louisiana, New Orleans included, this is where they get their drinking water from, cooking water, cleaning water. And unfortunately, with that salt water mixing with that fresh water, it's causing issues down there in New Orleans and the southeastern of Louisiana. My family, they was fortunate enough to go get bottles and bottles of water. They got a couple of cases. Um, it's not on main media right now, and I don't know why. It's on YouTube on hearing their channels or hearing their news sources. I don't know why it's not, you know, way up there. But I'm surprised that the Army Corps have not salute the hurt. I'm surprised that the Army Corps haven't found out a way how to tap into the salt water and separate it for clean drinking water. I mean, all these bodies of water in the oceans that we have is somehow they haven't figured out how to tap into the resources. And it's crazy, yet it's crazy because in the inner cities, they got laws where they don't want you to catch rainwater because of the chemtrails and all the different things that they shooting up there in them airplanes and whatnot. They don't want you to catch rainwater. They say rainwater is polluted, but yet the rivers and everything is drying up and they need rain to actually fulfill the rivers. So it's a cliche. It's a real cliche. And I talked to my mother the other day. She told me, well, matter of fact, I talked to her yesterday, and she told me yesterday that that salt water was an hour away. So she was filling up her pool, so she can have water, drink water to cook or whatever. And it reminded me of Katrina when we didn't have any water for days on end. It's just that the city not flooded. We didn't have any drinking water, any plumbing sources, anything like that. But I did a video where I say how much money New Orleans make, and D Herb can attest to this. New Orleans make a lot of money. New Orleans hosts the Essence Festival, the Bayou Classic. New Orleans hosts the Fairground Jazz Fest. They host the Super Bowl every 4 or 5 years. They host Mardi Gras. They host all these events. I mean, the Sugar Bowl every year. They host so many different events, but yet the politicians don't put the money back into the city. They don't put the money back into the city. You know, if you go to New Orleans right now, you drive the cities in New Orleans. If you go from downtown, at least a full block radius, right down Rampart, you hit that where Claiborne Bridge at or whatever, all the streets is raggedy. You go down Claiborne streets, the streets are raggedy. You go on the night wall, 7 wall, 6 wall, third wall. It don't matter where you go. The streets are raggedy. This is why, like somebody who know New Orleans, they know like you got a nice car. You can't even drive a nice car on the streets in New Orleans is raggedy. They have not kept up with the money. They pocket the money. We had a congressman, I forgot his name, but they found $80,000 in his congressman deep freezer. $80,000 cash in his deep freezer. You know, you know, it's a corrupt city. You know, it's a corrupt city. You know, all the way around the board, corrupt city. New Orleans is a corrupt city. You know, and to say that the drains, the drain system and sewer system, it always been jacked up. You know, we had this thing where we call it was a New Orleans thing, where we call it the May flood, and it happened about 10 years before Katrina happened, and we called it the May flood because in the month of May we had rain throughout the whole city. Like they say, New Orleans shaped like a bowl, and you got to go on one of those cruises to actually see that. Because when you're porting out, you could look down in the city, and you literally see it's like a bowl. The May flood, the water came up to your waistline and to your chest line in some areas in New Orleans. It happened a couple of years ago, and we call it the May flood. Every student of Orleans Parish had to walk home from school in that flood. The schools did not close, but when you got out of school that day, you had to literally walk at some point in time across a freeway or across a street or something where the water was going to be to your chest. And so we called that the May flood, and that May flood stuck. And then when Katrina happened, you know, memory lapses. People forgot that we didn't have no good pumps, but we never thought that New Orleans was flooded and be hit by a hurricane like Katrina happened, because it hadn't happened since Hurricane Bessie. You know, and all our family members used to tell us, hey, Bessie was bad. You know, I had to be on the roof. I had to be here. I had to be there across. They told us the stories, but we didn't believe it, you know, because every time a hurricane came to Walls, it never hit New Orleans. It hit Homer. It hit different sorts of Louisiana, but it never hit New Orleans in particular. And Hurricane Katrina, when it came, it was one to remember. It made history, literally, you know, and but the people in New Orleans, there's some strong people. You know, I'm not even gonna say just the people in New Orleans, the people of Southern Louisiana. You know, that goes for West Bank, East Bank, Plaquemine Parish, Chalmette, Marrero. I mean, everywhere, Jefferson Parish, everywhere. You know, down in that area, people are some solid people. People are survivors. They know how to survive. You know, they know how to survive. You know, I mean, this is where the pack of red beans come from. Pack of red beans and some rice, smoked sausage. It'll feed a family of 10, because your mother will stretch it out. You know, your mother will stretch it out and feed a family of 10. You know, and so it burns me up that all these years, and I know how much money. Salute, Spank. I know how much money that go in New Orleans on a year-to-year basis. These things ain't taken care of. You know, it's Mardi Gras is a 4-week event, in millions and millions of people, millions and millions, hotel money, tax revenue, all these different things, millions and millions of people spending money in New Orleans. You know, Sugar Bowl, that's every year, millions and millions of people spending money. You know, sometimes the Sugar Bowl, it beats the national championship game. Most of the time, you know, it ends up turning to the national championship game. You know, and when you look at Essence Festival, you look at Jazz Fest. I mean, just look at the event. Look at Cash Money Records. You know, the longest run music company in history. You know, the longest run. Produced Drake, Nicki Minaj, produced Lil Wayne. Look at Master P. All this money that flowed through the city. Look at Tyler Perry. You know, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And for New Orleans to be so broken, systematic, and ain't none of these celebrities speaking out about how corrupted the politicians is down there, it's sad. It's sad. It's too many big time celebrities that came out that city to not speak on how all the money the city make, and they don't put money back into that city. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But salute, and I thank everybody who rock with me. And the 504, it stands for New Orleans. You know, and everybody who rock with me, I have to do these videos right now because I'm gonna be bringing attention to this, because I have family that's affected by this. I'm affected because my family affected, and my loved ones and friends are affected by this trend that was transpiring right now. Some people in New Orleans still haven't recovered from Katrina, and that was 18 years ago. You know, so salute, and till next time.